going on, everyone? Today, 72% of the S&P 500 closed down in the red, and there are a few stocks going nuts right now, but this is just the calm before the storm as all eyes are on Jerome Powell as he's set to give his long-awaited interest rate decision and press conference tomorrow. And he better bring his A game too, as there is a record $7.4 trillion sitting on the sidelines. U.S. ocean exports fell by 78% in April, which is something we haven't seen since 2020. So make sure to stick with us today as we're going to cover everything you need to know for tomorrow and some great stocks to keep on the radar as well. We have a great episode today. So Tom, let's get right to it.
Yeah, the overall market had a setup very similar to yesterday. We can see how both days the market gapped down and pretty much filled the gap right back up towards key resistance. Yesterday, the resistance was right around 566 to 567. Today, it was right around 562 to 563. We ended up getting that rejection and the market chopped right back down towards the low of the day, close to 557, which will definitely be on watch for tomorrow as JP starts to speak in the afternoon. Mike, that is going to be the biggest thing to look for, I think, in the short term, and we'll definitely talk about that a lot in just a minute. But I know that there was a huge stock that everybody's been watching in the short term, and that is HIMS. I think that this has to be included in the market rundown today because it was so strong, up 18%. And the craziest thing to me is that last night in after hours, HIMS was actually tanking to the downside, but for some reason today, whenever the market opened, buyers definitely came in and apparently changed their minds.
HIMS is in full rocket mode right now, and when you look at that intraday price action, it is just overwhelmingly to the bull side. And what's very interesting is if you zoom out to a daily chart, we can see like every few weeks or so over the past few months, HIMS has been having these massive trends both to the upside and the downside. And as we've been covering this stock so much over the past few videos, it is definitely in that like parabolic phase that it was in towards like the end of February. We could see when it had its initial run up to like, you could say $70 a share, it was just going so crazy. And when it gets in these phases, like it moves more than like any other stock in the market, at least with these current conditions. And it's kind of crazy to say this, but like, you know, it moved up by 18% today.
I know, and the last time that it was in this range, it was having very similar days just like this. Like some of those other candles were 25%. The one that actually extends all the way up to $70, that's a pretty crazy candle too, being around 25%. So this stock is definitely one that can get pretty volatile. And as I watch it start to move, we can go to like an hourly chart and go back to like, let's say that previous rip. There were definitely some key points where I saw a lot of price action on this one. Of course, $58 to $60 is going to be major coming up. I think that that's going to be the most largest and like I would say the most influential resistance overhead, but there are some levels before there, like right around $56.50 and $56, which I think could end up showing a lot of price action as well. But just keep those on the radar. And I know today, Mike, it closed right around a key psychological level being $50 a share. If we end up like ripping above that tomorrow or gapping up in pre-market, I think it'll be a bull fest once again.
Yeah, it is crazy. So while no one knows, if the stock will rise tomorrow, we do know that it is going to move in a very strong way. Keep the levels Tom mentioned close on watch, as those have been key levels in the past. And in the worst case scenario, if the trend changes, there's nothing wrong with playing the counter trend. And I would also say to look at that like $45 area, as that has been a key support and was also like a very pivotal point intraday today as well.
Yeah, we saw a pretty good breakout, like right around that $45 area. If we go to like a 1 minute chart and we actually look at 45 more specifically, I'll move this line down to there. There was a few very key touches and a lot of momentum coming from that. So that'll be a good area to watch if the stock does fall. But looking at the rest of the earnings lineup, Mike, we do have quite the lineup here tonight. SMCI, AMD, Rivian, Tempest, Upstart, Wynn, Lucid. But I think that the most important one for today is, of of course, AMD, Advanced Micro Devices. It is exploding in after hours. It actually closed just under $100 today and started to rip to the upside. They pretty much beat on all fronts. They beat EPS, they beat revenue. Their Q2 sales came in good, which is guidance. Their gaming revenue beat expectations, and their client revenue was $2.3 billion, up 68% year over year. So AMD getting quite the move here, and pretty good to see this. I know a lot of chip stocks are following suit as well.
Love to see it with an advanced money dispenser, but looking at this stock for tomorrow, the after hours action is pretty great. In a broader sense, this stock still is pretty oversold, and it definitely is holding some of these lower levels pretty well. Looking at this stock more specifically for tomorrow, are there any levels that like truly stick out to you for let's say we do see a break maybe above this after hours high, right around, let's say $106 a share? Like, what would be next after that?
Yeah, we have to go back quite a bit on AMD. It's been chopping around in this bottom range down here for a long time, but there are some key resistances. I really do like 108 past this. $110 will be pretty crucial. And then as we can see on the chart, there was a previous peak right around 115. And I think that 115 resistance will be very important as we start to see AMD move to the upside. But there are a lot of key resistances mixed in here. I think 110 will even be pretty large, as it's a $5 and just a whole dollar psychological level there. So keep your eyes peeled on AMD. I will say though, Mike, AMD has been down quite a bit. So, to see it getting back above 100 here is definitely a good sign. And I know a lot of people have been looking to buy up the dip on this one. It's very far off its all-time high.
Yeah, I definitely like it in a longer term sense here, so it should be interesting. I guess more specifically for tomorrow, the biggest risk is if there's just if there's no momentum, like if AMD just chops around and doesn't really move that much, it'll be hard to justify trading. But at the same time, this stock has moved pretty strongly in the past, so I definitely think it's worth keeping on the radar. And I know we talked about a lot of upwards movement so far today, but we can't not talk about the Palantir price action from today. They reported earnings yesterday. We covered them pretty in depth, but today was a bloodbath as it fell down by 12%. And Tom, on a daily chart, this is a brutal rejection off the all-time high, right around $125 a share. This looks pretty rough.
It really is. It's brutal there. That $125 resistance was crucial, and with us not breaking that on earnings, it's something that I'm definitely worried about in the short term. I can see that in the short term, though, there is a key $100 support starting to come back into play. If we do bounce off 100, there could be a chance here, but I would say given the overall pattern and the setup, I'm a little bit worried that $100 might even give out with Palantir. I know Alex Karp came out today and even said that Europe doesn't get AI, and the international commercial segment saw a 5% decline year over year. So overall, we're not seeing the best, I would say, international news from Palantir at least.
No doubt. So either way, definitely keep this one close on watch as well. But Tom, let's talk more about the big event for tomorrow, which is the FOMC interest rate decision and Powell press conference. The FOMC interest rate decision will happen at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and Powell will speak 30 minutes after that at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. This event is important because whenever the chair of the Federal Reserve talks about the economy and interest rates, it has a massive influence on quite literally every economic thing you could imagine. As of right now, there's around a 97% chance that interest rates will stay the same, so that means everyone is looking at Powell to see what he says. Right now, this FOMC interest rate decision is going to be more interesting and important than normal, especially considering we just saw last quarter's GDP fall by 0.3%, which is certainly not good at all. And at the same time, we are seeing really strong jobs numbers as well. So Powell better bring his A game tomorrow, because there's going to be a lot on this event.
There definitely is, and I'm really looking to see what he says on these future rate cut possibilities. I know that in the short term, people have been really looking for rate cuts coming. As we can see on the FedWatch tool, as of right now, they're pricing in the first rate cut at that July 30th meeting. As we can see, the June 18th meeting has a 30% chance of a rate cut. So as we can see, there is a 30% chance if Powell, let's say, says something that might indicate that they will cut rates sooner, we will see this probably jump up. Personally, I think that the opposite's going to happen. happen. I think that Powell's going to look at this jobs data coming in and all the tariff situations and maybe say, we might need to keep things steady for longer and maybe wait and see what happens before reacting a little bit too early. It kind of sucks with where the Federal Reserve is being positioned right now. It's kind of like a double-edged sword, whether they cut or they pause or they hike. There's going to be kind of like a give or take on either side there.
Yeah, the market wants him to cut rates and turn the money printers back on, but he's kind of a little bit cautious, and can you blame him, especially considering that the full effects from this trade war are yet to be realized, especially considering we can see that inflation expectations are rising in, honestly, just a scary way. So, if we do see inflation rise, which is expected by quite literally everyone, that will throw a wrench into things. So that's just another thing to pay attention to.
100%. And I know in the short term, there's been a lot of money on the sidelines, and I really can't blame people. We're seeing inflation expectations go up, and money is on the sidelines right now. People are really, I would say, scared in the short term, and they're just not really confident in U.S. markets. We can see after COVID, right? During COVID, we saw a huge peak in this, and then after COVID, it went a little flat. I will say I expect this to start to flatten out a little bit as fears start to subside, maybe in a few months or maybe in 2026 or something. But as of right now, things are still highly volatile. We are maybe seeing a shift in the short term. There is starting to be some dip buying and recovery going on. But at the same time, it's just a pretty striking thing to see.
Another interesting but also slightly scary thing to see is how U.S. ocean exports fell by 78% in April compared to March. No one's really buying our stuff anymore, and this is something that we haven't seen since basically COVID, the COVID situation back in 2020. And as we scroll throughout this article, we can see more specifically how much our ocean exports are just falling off a cliff. So this is something that's very important, and I certainly don't think it should be underestimated.
Definitely not. As we look at January, February, and March, and we just see those containers really fall off worldwide, that's pretty crazy. Of course, it's falling off to China, but worldwide is a pretty striking thing to see as well. So this definitely does worry me in the short term. It shows that there is a lot of issues, and we can even see that in the short term, we're starting to see a pretty big drop compared to February 23rd to March 2nd, and then compared to March 30th to May 3rd, we're seeing let's just say the Port of Los Angeles losing quite a bit, 17.3% of those TEUs booked. So pretty insane there, Mike. At the end of the day, it's tough to see these tariff situations continuing to get worse. And then we had Trump come out today and literally say, we don't have to sign deals. So they've been talking for weeks about getting deals signed and things done with other countries. Even this morning, Bessent even came out and said that they were pretty close to some deals with countries that could even happen this week. And then Trump came out and said, well, we don't even have to sign them. It was kind of funny.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting time to be alive for multiple different reasons. And, of course, the market is just waiting for some, big trade deals to get signed. We keep hearing week after week that we're very close to a trade deal, but we have nothing official yet, at least. And then on top of that, there was also some news with the Houthis and some war-related news where basically the Houthis said that they are going to stop attacking ships, which is good. And then there was a little bit of I guess you could say a ceasefire between the U.S. and the Houthis, which is good. But then we also had some bad news with India and how they are starting to attack Pakistan.
India strikes 9 sites in Pakistan. This news hit right around the end of the day today. I am very interested to see how this ends up playing out, Mike. These are two very large world superpowers here, I guess you could say. They both have nuclear capability, so I'm definitely interested to see how this ends up playing out. Hopefully, things subside a little bit over the next weeks and months, but at the same time, things are just now heating up, so I'm definitely going to have my eyes on a few different things here, especially gold, which has been ripping in the short term. GLD is on fire, ripping above 310 right now, and hey, it seems like worldwide tensions are doing nothing but heating up. At least we had the Trump Houthi news today, though.
Yep, but yeah, gold prices are definitely continuing to benefit off of this uncertainty and fear. So keep GLD close on watch. And besides that, Tom, let's jump right into some SPY levels and analysis. What are the most important levels to watch for tomorrow, and what are you seeing on the charts?
Yeah, like I said earlier, SPY's been in pretty much the same pattern the past couple of trading days where we have nice gap downs and then we keep filling the gap like right to around the area where the gap down started. And the same thing played out yesterday. For tomorrow, I'm definitely watching this low of day from today very close around 557. If that ends up giving out, I'll be watching for a move to the downside to around a recent bottom around 556. If we end up breaking below 556, I'll get a little bit more bearish. There are a couple of short-term supports like 554, but I'll ultimately be looking for like a 550 move once we get below there. I will say, Mike, in the short term, the SPY has been pulling back the past couple trading days, making some lower highs. In the short term, I would think a move above 563 to 564 would show a pretty bullish sign, as that was the high of day today.
One thing from just a price action sense, I think it says a lot how the market tries to have these little pops up, but it keeps closing in a very weak way, whether it be today, yesterday, or even a handful of other times over like the past few days. Like the market is trying to move higher, and it is to an extent, but it's certainly not strong. And I'm not necessarily surprised too much by this, given the events we have tomorrow, as well as all of the other crazy events going on in the world. So make sure to stay adaptable. Don't marry either direction, and let's have a great week as we jump into some setups and predictions. A stock that is close on watch is still GDX, and it is to the upside. GDX follows gold mining companies. This ripped higher today as it moved up by over 4%, and its broader term uptrend is still intact as well. GDX is definitely still on the bullish radar, especially with this recent India-Pakistan news breaking out. Keep this one close on watch.
Yeah, well, GDX, I love it in the short term. 4.25% was definitely no slouch today, so I will definitely be watching it, especially with that news coming out of Pakistan. But with my first setup, I'm watching Tesla off the 270 support. Now, if we end up breaking under the 270 support, then definitely watch Tesla to the downside. The low of day today got to around 271.30, but Tesla's a $200 stock. We have to realize that like 231, 230, or 270 to 271, you have to give or take like $1 or $2 on these larger stocks like this. So I'm definitely going to be watching 270 though. If we break under that tomorrow, I'll be watching it to the downside. We can see on the Bookmap there was a lot of buyers stacked up around 270, 271, and even 272. So 3 pretty good buy walls down here at the bottom. If those give out, watch for Tesla to the downside. If we continue to hold 270, then maybe watch it back up. I will say it would be helpful to get a nice move out of the SPY though.
Definitely. All right, sounds good there, and I will keep those levels close on watch. But another stock that is definitely still on the radar is BRKB, and it is still to the downside. This one has been selling off over the past few days, and it didn't really move too much today intraday, but it is holding that like 515 area as a pretty strong resistance level. It's definitely on my radar, especially if we break through that like 509 area tomorrow. I think this one definitely has a nice reward to risk potential playing it to the downside, and its close was relatively weak as well, and we are seeing a little bit of profit taking happen in the broader market too. Either way, BRKB is definitely on my bearish radar.
Yeah, I definitely see what you mean here in the short term. There's been a lot of bearishness, especially with Warren Buffett announcing his retirement. That's going to be something that I continue to think about with Berkshire in the short term. But with my next setup, I'm looking at SMR to the upside. This is NewScale. They make small modular reactors, hence their ticker symbol SMR. Pretty funny, but at the end of the day, they were up 3.27% today. I'm going to be watching for a good breakout above 1825 tomorrow, above that high of day. Growth stocks in the short term have been turning around and moving very well, and I love the way that NewScale moved into close today and even held their ground into market close pretty well. So I'll be watching them to the upside. They're a stock that, as we can see on the daily chart, whenever they start to run, they can definitely have some pretty insane price action.
Sounds good. All right, Tom. Well, we are all set to jump right into today's momentum plays. And with the first one, we have Moderna, mRNA to the downside.
mRNA, if they break under 24.15, keep watching them to the downside. That was a pretty bad move today, down 12% for a healthcare stock like them.
All right, with the next one, we have Oklo, OKLO to the upside.
Yeah, if Oklo breaks out above $29, keep watching them up. It's right above that double top at the end of day.
All right, and then with the last one, we have B2 Gold, BTG to the upside.
This is a pretty fun gold stock. If they break out above $3.20, keep watching them to the upside. And I wanted to go to the daily chart with this one really fast just to show that it's a $3 stock that can get some pretty wild price action with gold prices here.
Sounds good. So we have these three stocks on the radar for potential continuations only if they break through the levels listed. As always, make sure to have stop losses to protect yourself. And of course, have a thesis for any trade that you ever take. Among many other important long-term sustainable habits that you can learn for free in the StockedUp Discord in the Key Lessons channel. But besides that, Tom, let's jump right into today's $740,000 big money trade, and we are looking at ticker symbol BPMC. Today, the big money bought the 110 strike call options that expire on October 17th of 2025. This is a bullish trade where they want this stock to go up, and for my advanced traders out there, this is technically a call debit spread where they also shorted the 130 strike call options. BPMC is a biopharmaceutical company, and their stock has been doing pretty well over the past few weeks, and the stock is getting closer towards like the higher ends of its recent ranges, which is good. These options do have a fair amount of time to them as they expire in October, but it's also a pretty bold and aggressive trade where the trader here is positioning themselves to take advantage of this stock breaking past some of its upper resistances, especially like around that 110 area. So either way, keep this one close on watch, and it should be interesting.
Yeah, BPMC is starting to really rip up on the daily chart. Sometimes we see these big money plays on some of these biopharma stocks or healthcare stocks in general, and I start to kind of question it, but at the same time, we see some great price action come out of them as well. The 110 strike calls are a little bit out of the money here, so keep that in mind. If this stock could ideally hold like 95 and then even like right around this $100 mark in the short term, it would be ideal, but at the end of the day, very interesting big money play here, 740,000, and there's a little bit of time as well out to October. It's probably not like they're expecting a move tomorrow, but more of like over the next couple months.
No doubt. And if you guys are new to the channel, definitely consider obliterating that subscribe button so you can get our videos recommended to you more often. We post big money plays just like this one every single day, as well as all the most important news, information, earnings, economic events, and basically everything you can need to know about the market. And again, we post all the time, so definitely consider subscribing. But we also want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Shadow, in the StockedUp trading floor, who had a great post today, as well as some great words as well, saying that he's working on percentage gains rather than dollar amounts while he learns. Very smart, and keep up the great work going forward. It is awesome to see posts like this one, and keep on rolling. If you guys have not tried out Bookmap already, definitely check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. It's like X-ray vision for stock trading, and it is especially useful when the market is in crazy mode like it has been over the past few months. Again, we have a very important event tomorrow with the FOMC interest rate decision, and then when you throw in kind of these, I guess you could say, black swan events with the India news, as well as all the other craziness we're seeing in the world, we definitely are set for some pretty big movement. Thank you all so much for watching. If you want to try out Bookmap, you can save if you use the link in the comments down below. A special offers icon will appear. But besides that, thank you so much for watching, and let's crush it in the market tomorrow.